question of whether life continues after death has been at the forefront of research carried out at the University of Virginia Medical Center in the US. In 2017, the university hosted a lecture dedicated to the last 50 years of research of the afterlife. This is a quite lengthy lecture that I was interested in and watched throughoutly, and that I'm gonna outline here shortly the main points from that lecture. Professor Bruce Grayson, who took part in the lecture, discussed some of the more bizarre NDEs, near-death experiences he has came across through his research. According to the psychiatrist, many patients on the verge of dying experience the showing down of time, see their lives flash before their eyes, and have a sudden sense of clarity. He said, the changes in feeling include a sense of peace and well-being, feeling of joy, a sense of oneness or cosmic unity, an encounter with what seems to be a loving, warm being of light. People report seeing colors they have never seen on Earth, hearing sounds they have never heard before, having what seem to be a frank extrasensory perception of things going on elsewhere, visions of the future, and a sense of leaving the physical body. Professor Grayson also said many NDEs induce a sense of otherworldly features. Professor Grayson said, now most NDEs in fact have a combination of all four of. The researchers interviewed patients about their NDEs in the 1980s and followed up with them 40 years later to determine whether time influenced their memories of the events. Surprisingly, his study found memories of the NDEs were still reliable nearly 40 years later, meaning the stories did not change over time. The psychiatrist did, however, notice experiences of an altered life were influenced by cultural norms. For example, near-death experience of third-world countries don't talk about entering a tunnel the way Americans do. They would talk about entering a cave or a wall. One truck driver they have interviewed talked about entering a tailpipe. So, in the research, near-death experiencers are just reporting what they expect to happen when they come close to death. That is more alarming to skeptics who think that it's just wishful thinking to believe in the life after death. Some experts believe death is a pre-programmed and the unavoidable part of being alive. Neurobiologist Dr. Paweł Boguszewski from the Nensky Institute of Experimental Biology argued there is a biological end for life written into our genes. He said, our civilizations is a process that is supposed to protect us from death. I'm thinking about a certain kind of law. However, the age of 120 is the contractual boundary of our life. It is biologically written into our species. We cannot say death is just an accidental suspension of the biological process known as life. Truthfully, it is programmed end of it. According to the science, Scientists, there is a strong possibility people who stand on the verge of dying hold on to consciousness. If blood still runs through the brain, it is plausible people will still see lights and hear voices they later confuse with an afterlife experience. Near-death experiences don't constitute full-on patient death. Therefore, researchers argued patients could not have technically experienced the afterlife because, once again, they were not technically dead. They were still alive. So it could be just their visions, wishful thinking, whatsoever. The experience of an afterlife remains a matter of belief, not scientific proof. Sam Parnia of the New York University Langone Medical Center has proposed afterlife experiences can be explained by removing the consciousness from the brain. Dr. Parnia also said, it's certainly possible that maybe there is another layer of reality that we have not yet discovered that's essentially beyond what we know of the brain and which determines our reality. So she believes it is possible for consciousness to be an as of yet undiscovered scientific entity that may not necessarily be produced by synaptic activity in the brain. Dr. Pernier has also proposed people are aware of their own death, claiming a study of 140 patients who suffered cardiac arrest showed awareness of conversations and seeing visual things that were going on. Many people who claim to have briefly died and returned to the land of the living share their experiences with the Near-Death Experience Research Foundation. One man who said a major heart attack left him on the verge of death has claimed to have met his maker. Another woman reported how she saw an eternity of nothingness before coming back to life. One man even claimed to have proof of God himself after briefly venturing over to the other side. In another bizarre story, a woman claimed to have found evidence of the afterlife, her future, and of reincarnation. In short, though people claim to have this kind of experiences, as we all know, nobody has died and came back into the life actually, so it can be always a matter of speculation whether these things are just hallucination or close to reality. It's always gonna stay as a matter of belief unless we discovered unlock some other potential of our brain, or maybe potential beyond the brain. Afterlife is yet outside of the possibility of the science to prove its existence or not.